Hi, everybody. Tonight is WDRB Weather's live video discussing winter weather advisory. And this one is going to be an interesting topic because I think there's going to be a little controversy in this one and how winter weather advisories are handled. In transparency, we spent a lot of time today actually discussing with the Weather Service about how these winter weather advisories are chosen. And different Weather Service offices dealing with things differently, how we perceive, what you perceive. So we'll go through some of this conversation, and I will just say this: in everything we do, nothing here is personal. When we give you our thoughts, our goal and what we do is simply to try to make sure that you understand what to expect. And I think I speak for Rick and I on that. Number one, if you're on Rick's page, first, thank you. Make sure that you follow if you're not. That way you get alerts when we go live. Same on my page. And please share the video. We always say this, but sharing probably is the most important thing of everything we do on these videos. Why? Your friend, your parents, your friend's ex-girlfriend's former roommate's dog might be interested in whether they're going to be able to play in the snow tomorrow. They might be.
Who was that?
Their friend's former roommate's ex-girlfriend's dog
That was pretty
might
good.
want to know if they're
pretty
going to be able to get to play in some snow, or if you're going to have to drive in snow-covered roads. These are going to be things that we discuss, and they may want to watch right now, and they may not want to watch right now. They may want to watch in a day and wait. They may want to watch in 2 hours, but when you share the video, they'll know that we covered this, and they'll be able to jump in. If you're on our YouTube page, remember you can always let your friends know, send the link over to them, and also follow our YouTube pages. We will be doing our lives.
Subscribe.
So let's get this video off started. Rick, this was an interesting day across our area. We had snow squalls that occurred in our area last night. These are interesting because they can produce these high intensity bursts, but they're so localized.
Yeah, there's narrow little bands that set up. I mean, maybe a couple miles wide.
And you were driving in last night. So Rick was out actually during lunch break and on your way back to work when you came back into the weather office, and you said to me, you said there's wrecks on 64. And I was like, wow, that happened really quickly. And Rick's really jumped into action on our traffic system and actually did traffic for us in the 10. But you saw, Rick, you know, it can happen quickly in this area.
It can. And I honestly, I felt so helpless. Last night, I mean, sure, you know, Verizon, the outage, I couldn't pull up my phone and look at radar, which usually that's like my safeguard. If I'm driving through a thunderstorm or a snowburst, I can look like how much longer until I'm out of this. But I was in the dark, like a lot of people, just driving along. I'm on 64, getting close to downtown. There are wrecks left and right, people spinning out all over the place. And that squall had intense snow, which they do for a short period of time, but it was enough to overcome those pavement temperatures. It stuck, got slippery, and then everything melted. And then after that, temperatures came crashing down below 24, and everything froze up. Mark, you saw the pictures.
Yeah.
You saw it was like a sheet of ice out there on 71, the Snyder, some of those on and off ramps. It was like, we were just watching the video like, is this truck going to make it through that ramp? It was really kind of a nerve-wracking situation to see how many people were out on the roads because, you know, snow you can manage, but ice,
it's
you
a tough
can't
one.
do anything.
And we got a lot of questions last night. Why did the Weather Service not issue a winter weather advisory? And let me be very, very clear. My opinion, they did the right thing. Why? We knew that the quantity was lower, and they handled it with what we call a special weather statement and alerting, letting you know that these slick spots could occur. We know that it wasn't across the whole city. I mean, if you were watching us last night and you were, let's say, in Seymour, or let's say you're in Shively or PRP, or let's say you're in E-Town, or let's say you're in Carroll County, you're like, what are you talking about? Yeah. There's nothing here. Do we advise when 90% of that area will see nothing and then not trust us next time? So I'm going to stand behind the Weather Service. They did the right thing last night. They got out the advisory, the special weather statements when the band was coming through, and then later they noted that that was a concern here. So we then move into tonight. So the Weather Service this afternoon in Louisville issued an advisory. And what we're going to do as we jump into this video, we're going to spend some time on what to expect. And our videos are something a little bit different than what we do on TV because we get the opportunity to go into more depth. Some people just want the straight to the details forecast. We'll have that at 10 and 11. Some people enjoy a little bit more detail in the video. Some like our videos because at the end of the video, you're going to have an opportunity to ask your questions. You can see some of the comments there on the side of the screen. At the end of the video, you'll get your chance. So again, please share and let's jump into the conversation here. So this was a little bit of a surprise to us, Rick. The
Especially,
weather.
yeah, it was surprised for the timing.
We
too.
were sitting in the weather office. We had known that nobody had issued an advisory around the area, and all of a sudden, this was around 3:30, 3:40, we get a winter weather advisory. And so some are looking at this and probably saying, Rick, that looks weird. Like, that doesn't look right. I mean, why that shape? Why not include Jackson, Jennings, Lawrence County? I mean, what's going on? Is Carroll County immune to this?
Right. Why those 13 counties in particular stand out from everyone else?
And Rick, there is a very distinct reason to this. We have different weather service offices that serve our area. Indianapolis services Jackson, Jennings, and Lawrence County, the counties you see on the top there. Carroll County, you're serviced by the National Weather Service in Cincinnati. Jackson, Kentucky covers the eastern part of Kentucky. Nashville covers just south of our area. And then Paducah covers the western part of our area. So understanding that, now you can see that there is only one office within our entire region. And I'm going to show you this because I do think it is worth noting. And again, this is not taking shots. This is simply speaking accurately to the scenario. And you can see there's this weird island,
Right.
Rick.
It's a winter weather advisory island.
There is nothing on Indianapolis. Does that mean Indy is not going to see snow? No, that's actually not accurate. Indy is going to see some light snow out of this. Cincinnati's not, Rick. No, actually, Cincinnati is going to see light snow. Well, Paducah, the northern side of Paducah, is not going to see any. In Illinois, the Decatur area, they're not going to see any snow either. No. This is the National Weather Service Louisville made a decision that is completely different than all of the other offices. And in transparency, Rick, it's not that these other offices didn't do anything. They're not asleep at the wheel. They chose what they refer to as a special weather statement.
Right.
So understand, and we want to share this because I do think this is important as we dive into this. For the history of weather, and I want to get your attention on this one for a moment. We did a lot of things over weather over the years. We had so many different advisories. Remember, we had the travel advisory back in the day that was for these really, really low-end events. 2011 comes along. We have advisories. We warn almost every single thing that could produce a tornado. 2011 comes along. There's this massive tornado outbreak. We refer to this as a super outbreak. And Rick, only 2 tornado events have ever gotten that tag. One is the legendary 1974 event here, and then the 2011 event. And that event in 2011 was eye-opener. The Weather Enterprise realized at this moment that we had over 300 people that died. And we tried to figure out what happened. How did so many people die? I mean, the warnings were out there. People were warned for a long time ahead of these storms. You remember that?
I do.
Those warnings were huge. Some people had a warning for an hour before the tornado came. And after doing research and interviewing some of these people that were affected, they came to us and told us, not us, but the Weather Enterprise, that we go under tornado warnings all the time. We didn't realize it was going to be that bad. And we realized that complacency is real, that people stopped listening. So we then looked at our accuracy in tornado warnings at the time, and we realized that the false alarm rate was 75%.
Wow.
Rick, if I told you 3 out of every 4 times I ask you to do something, it's going to be wrong, are you going to take action ever again, or are you going to question it?
I would question and then stop taking action at some point.
So I mean,
that's my natural human instinct would be to do that, sure.
Right. If you told your wife, you told her that, hey, there's a tornado coming towards our house.
That's assume she listens to me, right?
But 3 out of every 4 times you told her
Right.
you would be wrong. She would think, do you even know what you're doing? And I know Alicia pretty well, and it wouldn't be in a mean way, but she would think that, right?
No, absolutely.
So we then realized as a weather enterprise that this is not acceptable to be wrong that often. And so what we did is alter course, and we tried to make sure that we know these higher end events cause more damage and hurt more people. E.g., an EF5 tornado is going to do cause a lot more fatalities than an EF0. And so we then, as a weather enterprise, pivoted to trying to be more accurate in how we present, which brings us then back around to the concept here. These advisories have always had a floor. And for Louisville, up until a couple years ago, Louisville issued under a 1 to 4 inch snow for a winter weather advisory. Rick, you've been doing some research on these floors and why they matter, why they don't matter. Why is the Weather Service Louisville different than any of our other surrounding offices? Right. And you spent a lot of time on this today.
I made a couple calls today. full of transparency, trying to find out as much information as I possibly could. So this, what I have here, nice piece of paper, is a printed out version of the winter weather advisory. This is by Louisville's criteria. So I'm going to read this one out loud. Where'd it go? Snow averaging, I had to look, snow averaging less than 4 inches.
Less than 4.
Less than 4, which means anything from nothing, 0, to 4. So that, for me, I'm a numbers guy. So for me, that was kind of, it kind of shocked me at first. And I was like, you can forecast 0 and you can forecast 4 because the difference in impacts are vast.
That basic, let me make sure I understand. You're saying, based on this, that if flurries cause an impact, it's the same advisory as 4 inches of snow falling.
Absolutely.
Rick, you've been doing this for a long time. I'm just going to ask you just honestly, and I really do want you to answer this. Do you think flurries that cause a dusting cause the same impact as 4 inches of snow in this area?
No way. I mean, not even close. Flurries and 4 inches of snow. I mean, you're talking about schools getting shut down and not getting shut down. People getting bread and milk, people not getting bread and milk. They are two different things.
People that make money, snow plowing. Now, what happens if they see the same advisory for a dusting that may cause some traffic headaches to a 4-inch snow that they need to plow some property? They need to do things. How do you know which one it is?
Right.
Which winter weather advisory is it?
Well, that's the thing. I think most people, when you get an alert like winter weather advisory, you see it on your phone, you're like, oh, there's a winter weather advisory. And you may not dive in and read some of the details. I was actually driving through the pharmacy, and someone working there asked, hey, should I bring my laptop home because I saw the advisory? Is it going to snow a lot tonight so I can work from home? And I was like, no, just, leave the laptop here. You're not going to need to do that. But that's the problem, is that in public, I went out, and people think that if we have a winter weather advisory, there's going to be a decent amount of snow, at least 1 inch of snow on the ground, at least. But now, because of that new definition, it says snow averaging less than 4.
But it does say an impact. So
and then at the end, it says think impact.
So that could, what is an impact?
I mean,
so
that's
to
subjective.
you,
It's very subjective.
so now we're in a scenario where, and again, I just want to make sure we're on the same page here. Any type of impact can get a winter weather advisory because there's no floor now.
Well, it depends on, again, impacts. To me, it was everything else. I think I'm a pretty agreeable guy. I like to get along with everybody. Maybe you can vouch for that.
Rick is totally that. Unless one day I'm super stressed out and I we're talking together and I get a little bit too excited, then he gets a little defensive, which rarely ever happens.
It's usually never. We have a good time working together.
We do have a good time working together. But Rick, this brings up then the obvious question. So the National Weather Service Louisville is dealing with it this way. What are the other offices doing?
So like I said, made a couple calls.
Okay, I want to hear this. You did call somebody and talk to somebody.
I did call another weather service and spoke to a meteorologist there. And I said, hey, I just was curious, searching online, looking at some of the criteria for winter weather advisories. And they told me that their bottom, the floor, was 1 inch of snow, 1 to 4 inches of snow. And so I was like, okay, well, have you heard of other offices doing less than 4, meaning anything that's below 4? And he was kind of skeptical about it. And he said this seems very subjective and just basically kind of, taken back. So then I also began researching online, looked at weather services that are banked up against us. And it does look like in Indy, for a winter weather advisory, you have to have at least 2 inches of snow or sleet.
Okay, so it's a 2-2.
It's a 2 there.
And we're talking floor.
It's a floor. It's a 1 in Nashville. And I also
1 inch in Nashville.
1 inch in Nashville. Okay. And I also looked in Paducah. And Paducah, interestingly enough, has also gone with an up to 4 kind of scenario.
Okay, so those mean that any impact, regardless of the total, can get it.
Right. So basically what I'm saying is these offices that are all situated geographically right next to one another don't have the same criteria for these advisories. And they typically don't, because north you get more snow, south you wouldn't. And in fact, I looked at Birmingham, Alabama, and they actually have a floor. It's a 1/4 inch of snow, 0.25, but they do have a floor for the advisory, which I think is in a very important threshold, because you got to get at least something. You can't just say I'm forecasting 0, because that's not a forecast. So for me, the fact that Birmingham, Alabama had a floor for this was telling. It says to me that, well, how come all of a sudden we can just take that away and basically throw out winter weather advisories whenever we want?
So we just go through this discussion. It's philosophical. There may be a time where we actually have multiple National Weather Service personnel that we can speak with, because clearly Indy has a different philosophy from Louisville. Jackson has a different philosophy than Indy and Louisville. ILN, Cincinnati. So in transparency, all of these other offices, Indy put out a special weather statement. There was one for last night in Louisville. A special weather statement was issued from Cincinnati, from Indianapolis, and from Paducah. They chose to not go with an advisory. So we show you this, we show the island of this, and we want to now get into that discussion.
But I think it's important to note that Paducah has that same tool, yet they went special weather statement.
Isn't that an interesting one? I think that's worth saying one more time.
Yeah.
The National Weather Service, Paducah, has that same option. Now, Rick, what we're going to see as we look at the data, a core of Paducah's coverage area is not going to get any snow at all. But the northern part of their area, one could very comfortably argue that will get the same as some parts of our area.
Very
so
true.
like, I'm just going to use this as an example. Crawford County, Du Bois County, when you go 2 counties west of that, they're going to see the exact same thing.
Exactly.
So we just offer that as information. Again, this comes out of a long discussion with the Weather Service today. So as we look around our region, we can see an upper level low that's near Winnipeg. And I'm going to quickly come back to this because I want you to look at that band of snow that is in Illinois. That's what's moving in our direction tonight. So as we look at this, the second upper level low, the one near Winnipeg, is what gets into our area tomorrow afternoon. I want to go over that winter weather advisory one more time on the hours. This is 4 a.m., Rick, through 10 p.m. tomorrow. 10 a.m. rather. 4 a.m. to 10 a.m. So this has nothing to do with what happens tomorrow afternoon. We want to be clear on that. So, Rick, to discuss rain versus snow, pretty simple here, right? 24.
It's going to be snow.
But look at that dew point.
It's low.
So this means it's going to chew through some of that snow.
It's true.
Again, interesting, just information we're sharing. E-Town sits at 20 degrees, also with a crazy low dew point. Worth noting that wind chill is awful. You were out there
14.
for a little bit this afternoon. You grabbed us dinner.
Yeah, I mean, it's tolerable. Is it
Okay.
enjoyable? No.
Yeah, fair.
I also, in my back of my mind, I'm like, all right, that Siberian air hasn't gotten here yet.
It's a fair
When
point
I get a
as
taste
well.
of that, then maybe I'll complain.
So Corridon, how are you doing? You're 22. Look, you get the idea here. We don't want to harp and stand on one point here, but it's cold enough. There's not anything that falls tonight other than snow, if it falls. There's nothing out there that says anything other than snow. And we're sitting at 19 in Sellersburg. We can at least define our area as very cold. This then takes us beyond all of this. Number 2, Rick, the dry air is something we're going to come back to because this is notorious for our area on chewing through. We have seen so many scenarios here where we underperformed on snow because the dry air just chewed through it. You'll see the flurries, but that dry air can do work on quantity when it's a quick hitter. So, Rick, what we're going to do here as we look, I'm going to drop us into the bottom right corner, and we are going to look at Advanced Track. We're going to look at the snow here from Advanced Track.
Future radar, if you will.
There, future radar is a good call. Rick, there's the snow at 11 p.m. It is in Illinois. So let's advance this, and this is, by the way, the new run. I know that because I put the pause point at 1, and it's pausing at 1:30, which means that it's updated. So you're going to be looking at this as we do. You can see the snow band there. That's along the Illinois-Indiana border. You can see that's approaching our western counties around 2:30 to 3. Interestingly, the advisory starts at 4. But Rick, you can see at 4:30, at least to me, that doesn't look heavy. Maybe I'm missing something.
No, I mean, usually if you thought heavy, you would see darker shades of blue.
Okay, fair. So there we go. 5 a.m. There's a little bit of light snow falling in Louisville.
And it's fragmenting a little bit there. It's not holding together quite as well.
But clearly there is some light snow. If you're asking us, do we think there's going to be light snow tonight? Me, yes.
Yeah, flurries, light snow, snow shower. Yes.
And this is not a discussion about whether there's a snow chance.
Yeah,
tonight.
it's not. It's a yes. There's a snow chance. This is not a yes or a no debate. There is absolutely snow chance tonight.
So there is a snow chance. You could see at 6 a.m. We've got light snow ongoing in our area. And then you can see at 7, 8, 9, 10. It's gone. So, Rick, we're going to look at one of the more accurate high-resolution computer models in the planet. We talked about this in a video the other day, the HRRR. This is a model that you love, and I'm going to let you describe what you're seeing here.
I see nothing in Louisville, but I do see some areas north of I-64, which pick up a little fresh coating of snow, which would be light, powdery kind of snow, since we have the cold air already in place. And another important point, since we have temperatures in the 20s, every single flake that falls is going to stick. So you can see some slick spots north around Seymour, areas like Madison. That's where they're showing a couple tenths of an inch of snow. But as Mark alluded to, a lot of that's going to get chewed up by the dry air. So we're looking at nothing major in terms of accumulations, very minor stuff. But yes, it's not just going to be limited to elevated surfaces like the car deck. This will actually stick to some roads.
And I'm going to come back to this on you because I want to ask you the question again. And these videos, we don't hide. We're not trying to be non-transparent, and we're trying to be honest in what we suspect and think will happen. Rick, can you get impacts from a tenth of an inch of snow?
Sure. Yeah. Especially because I always think
last night we could argue it was a quarter.
Yeah, about a quarter to half inch.
But it's the same as last night. I mean, I'm going to ask you that straight up.
No, last night the snow melted and we had a flash freeze. This time around, you actually tell by the beads that were on people's cars when you walked out.
Fair.
The thing tonight, the situation is that we already have the cold air in place and snow's moving in. So the ground's already below freezing. We're gonna see those snow flakes stick, and that's just a fact. So that does mean yes, there's gonna be slick spots. And I always think it's important to remember, not everyone's in a four-wheel drive with nice treads. There's people out there who you just have to go out with what you have. And if you only have front wheel drive or rear wheel and your tires aren't in good shape, it's going to be different for everybody. And if you don't like driving in the snow, if it makes you nervous, then don't go out. It's not worth it. And that last night was one of those situations where I think a lot of people got caught off guard.
Sure.
And were like, I don't belong out here and I just want to be home. And I'm sure after sitting in traffic for several hours, a lot of people were happy to get home.
So Rick speaks to the HRRR and the numbers. I'm going to show you, again, this video is about transparency. I'm going to speak to the European computer model. This is a synoptic model, but arguably one of the better models in the world. I would argue that the HRRR is better, but I think looking at the numbers does matter. And again, we're talking about numbers here tonight. How much? The Euro shows 0. It literally shows 0 in Louisville. Now, that doesn't mean that a trace or flurries or snow showers can't occur, but it's saying the accumulation would be nearly nothing. It shows a tenth in Paoli. It shows 2/10 in Seymour. Understand Paoli is in the advisory. Seymour is not. North Vernon is not, which is somewhat interesting when you look at the Euro because the numbers are a little bit higher the further north you go. So, Rick, what we see here then is the Euro is saying, I don't disagree with what the HRRR is saying. I'm going to hand it back to you, Rick. You're going to look at the NAM computer model.
And the NAM's a little more generous on this one. It is showing about a half inch of snow falling in Seymour, Madison, 3/10 of an inch. But once again, when you look at Louisville, you don't see anything. So that's what we went through 3 now.
3 models.
3 models that show absolutely no snow accumulating in Louisville.
Okay, maybe these computer models are wrong. I'm going to take the next one again. In transparency, we wanted to show you everything. This is our in-house weather model. We call it Advanced Track. The in-house weather model also shows 0 in Louisville. It shows a tenth of an inch in Paoli. It showed a tenth of an inch in Seymour. Does this mean you can't see impacts on a tenth of an inch in Seymour? No, you can. But the Weather Service from Indianapolis went with a special weather statement. They're saying there is going to be some snow. You could see some impacts, but they're saying it doesn't meet up to the level of what would reach an advisory. And I'm just going to give a small example here, Rick. We get 35-mile-an-hour winds. And I want to do an apples to apples because I think this is one. Winter weather advisory at the end. Wind advisory at the end. So from a standpoint of, let's compare advisories to advisories. If we get 35-mile-an-hour winds, do we issue a wind advisory?
No.
Why not?
Because it's 40.
Can 35-mile-an-hour winds knock down some trees and cause a little bit of damage?
Actually had that happen in my house about a week and a half ago.
So, Rick, am I fair in stating that 35-mile-an-hour winds did have an impact on you?
Yeah.
But there wasn't an advisory issued?
No.
I thought that we're issuing advisories when there's any impact.
It's a good question.
Okay, so we're not done looking at snow amounts here. I'm going to go to one last computer model, Rick, and I'm going to give it to you on the GFS. you're going to get a chance. What are the numbers looking like?
Well, actually, this one looks a little different than the other ones.
Okay.
It's not on the same page. It shows a little more snow off to the west, but once again, it's less than 0.2 of an inch, and Louisville has nothing once again. Our northern counties have some, our southern counties do not. But like I said, our western communities like Paoli, Hardinsburg, you are seeing some snow there. But of the, 5 or 6 we just ran through, this is the only one that's showing that. But I think the take-home message with this is that all of them are showing no snow in Louisville.
That is quite interesting. So in what we do, when we issue winter weather advisories, 4 inches of snow is included in there. We need a massive response from our road crews. They need to have everybody on call and probably bring them all in.
Yeah. Start brining, start salting.
Right, and prep. If you are a snowplow guy that does this as a business, you've got to be on ready to go, because that is going to get you out there. And
that's how some people make a living. I mean, that's their livelihood.
Now, the winter weather advisory is issued for 4 inches of snow. On the instance of that, it causes mass chaos and problems in our city, and there needs to be a monumental response to that. People at home know that it's probably unlikely that their kids are going to go to school. Rick, I'm just being fair and asking the question here. If it's issued, a winter weather advisory is issued, you wake up tomorrow morning and there's a dusting in Louisville, what's going to be the response of the people to us?
Probably not so kind. I mean, I would say if there's nothing, it's going to be worse. If there's absolutely not a flake on the ground in Louisville, then we'd get heckled for that one. But, if you can get a little more than that, then sure, I'd say it's warranted. But it's tough to say when you're talking about a dusting, because a dusting, to me, you brush it off.
Pandora's box.
Yeah.
If we issue advisories on a dusting, we've opened Pandora's box. We will have to issue these all the time. And the winter weather advisory will become exactly what the tornado warning was in 2011. We will have then gone full circle. You will say, you guys issue these advisories when absolutely nothing happens. You're going to have a point. I hate to say it, but you're going to be right. And when you say, Mark, I'm not listening to you anymore, you keep putting out these advisories when it's virtually nothing. I'm not listening anymore. I'm going to make my own decision. You don't know what you're talking about. I hate to say it, but I would understand why they would say that to me. As much as I hate to be have that hate coming our way, we will have welcomed it.
Meaning we made the same mistake again, just in a different fashion.
So, should a winter weather advisory be issued tonight? I'm not going to tell you what should happen. Based on the National Weather Service's criteria, as Rick noted, they very well could. It is also worth noting that Paducah has the exact same criteria, in that there is no floor. If they think there's any impact, they can issue it. They did not issue. They went with an SPS. And when we looked at our entire area and all of the advisories that were in effect, only the National Weather Service in Louisville issued the advisory. Is this a reaction to what occurred last night? It would be 100% pure speculation on my point. Yeah. Can I tell you why they did it? I can tell you that prolonged discussions happened today. And I want to just say one thing. I probably spent 2 hours chatting with the Weather Service today. I have no stake in any of this other than my reputation is all that I have. And I made that decision a long, long time ago. When I started in TV in Louisville in 2004, there are some really, really skilled, likable meteorologists. What I decided I wanted my brand to be is accuracy. And what I mean by that is I wanted to try to get the forecast right. And I will defend that accuracy, because I feel that when people want the accurate forecast, they come to WDRB. That's what we've tried to do. So when there is something that we don't agree with, we do our best with our channels to communicate that we have a concern. Sometimes those concerns are addressed, sometimes they're not. And the Weather Service has every right to put out whatever forecast they want. I 100% respect their ability to do that. Rick, we also have what we view as our requirements to the public and how we are going to state threats. I'm going to speak to me and I'll let you speak for you. To me, 1-inch criteria was an accurate way to represent the floor of what people should expect for an advisory. When we go without a floor, now a dusting can get an advisory. You may think that a dusting is impactful. You may think 2 inches of snow is impactful. I may think a 1/2 inch of snow is impactful. All the people commenting here, we have 1,000 people in here right now, may have a different opinion on what's impactful. If we're trying to then cover what could be impactful for every single person, now we run into a worrisome scenario where we overwarn and underproduce.
And just put people on edge for circumstances that I don't think will necessarily all the time warrant that sort of reaction. That's it. We want you to react to something that we tell you. If we say, we think you should do this or we think you should do that, we just hope that you actually listen to us. So there's times where...
So we want you to take action.
Right. And there's times don't worry about it or worry about it. And, you know, I just feel like it's important to reserve that power and, you know, that privilege to use it when necessary and not just throw it out there any given day.
Because to Rick's point, if we're saying that a 1/2 inch, I'm going to go even lower, 1/10 of an inch of snow is the same impact as 4 inches of snow, it's time to turn this off because we have completely lost touch with reality.
No.
It's like saying that 20-mile-an-hour winds are going to do the same damage as 58-mile-an-hour winds.
No way.
And anyways, this is our dilemma. Rick, we're going to continue to move forward because I think it's important. Tomorrow morning's not the only chance of snow showers.
No.
And I think one might be able to very, 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 very successfully argue that tomorrow afternoon and evening have potentially greater impact than the morning.
I'm more concerned with the afternoon than the morning.
Well, then why isn't there an advisory in the afternoon? If the morning it justifies an advisory, why isn't there one for the afternoon then?
You know what? It got me on that one.
Well, Rick, why wouldn't we're going to see flurries and snow showers on Saturday, right? I mean, there has to be an advisory for Saturday too, right?
I hope there's not.
Rick, what happens if we get some snow flurries on Sunday when that really cold air starts to advect? I mean, by that, we should have an advisor on that as well, right?
Based on new criteria.
So you see the challenge here. We're going to go through the data here. Rick, this is interesting because if you remember yesterday, as we got into the afternoon and evening, we saw the cold air start to surge. And when that happened, that generated some of these higher intensity bursts. As we look at the data tomorrow, what's interesting about tomorrow is it may be a little warmer than yesterday.
Yeah.
However, the ground is going to be way colder than yesterday. We see that anywhere that we get intensity in this afternoon and evening, it does generate snow bursts. You saw it firsthand yesterday, Rick. Walk us through what a snow squall is. You grew up in an area where we got these frequently. I was the same area as well. But you know what a squall is. And just in transparency, when I first met Rick, it wasn't squall.
No.
What was it, Rick?
Squall.
It was squall.
There's a W somewhere, right?
Squally.
Squall.
So snow squall, Rick, what is this?
You can say snow squall if you're like me and you have trouble spitting that out. You can just refer to that as a snow burst, but these are intense, short-lived bursts of snow. Think of this as winter's version of a summertime storm where, you know, the skies darken, the winds start whipping around, but instead of rain, you get heavy snow. Now, this can lead to sudden whiteout conditions and brief slick roads. In this situation, slick roads since temperatures are in the 20s. And the other part about these is they don't last hours and hours and hours like a snowstorm would. They last about 15 minutes to 45 minutes. So on average, about a half hour. But if you are driving during that half hour, you could end up in a situation where the roads are completely slick and you can't see what's in front of you, which is not a good situation. That a lot of people got stuck in that last night. And then on top of that, to make it even more complex, it melted and then the snow froze up. Basically, anything that looked wet was ice last night.
So in this scenario, I'm understanding you're saying snow squalls, windy conditions.
Yes.
Visibilities are going to be low.
Yep.
Yesterday it melted and then refroze. Tomorrow looks different, right? Because the pavement's colder, so the snow squall wouldn't remelt. It would just be, it would accumulate.
Yeah, it would just be slick roads because of the snow.
Low visibilities.
Low visibilities. You know, you ease off the gas a little bit. You kind of get your bearings, but and yeah, it's definitely, you know, nerve-wracking to be driving through that, but you can make it and just know that it's not going to last more than a half hour.
So you can see data showing this is 7 a.m. Actually, I want to go back through that one more time. I'm going to give you the time on the top right part of the screen. Let me take this full just so you can spend some time looking. You can see the data shows at around 5-6. There's some intensity here. The data is showing these snow showers and snow bursts starting to move across our area. These are higher intensity. What we know about tomorrow afternoon is that it's going to take intensity to start to accumulate. Why would it take intensity to start to accumulate? Because it is warmer. So areas that can attain some intensity for tomorrow would then be able to generate some accumulations. We can see these at 7 o'clock is when we may start to get into peak potential for these. So if you have to be out there driving in the evening, be aware. This could adversely affect your commute. Are we talking about a higher end? No. And this then would become something that's interesting, Rick. If we can issue for just flurries, then you can see we open Pandora's box because we have more of those on Saturday. I think it's worth coming back around. Some people that just joined in, some people that just wanted us to get to the forecast. Let's only talk that forecast. Tonight into tomorrow, we've looked at multiple runs of multiple different computer models. In this video, we showed 5. In virtually every ounce of data, it shows 1/10 of an inch to 0 in Louisville. That would be arguably a dusting.
That's high end.
That would be arguably a dusting.
I would say max. If you see anything,
okay.
I would say dusting's kind of the ceiling with this one.
So going into southern Indiana, we see some locations between maybe Paoli, Seymour, North Vernon, Bedford, Scottsburg, Madison, maybe 1/10 to 2/10. Not 1 inch to 2 inches. 1/10 to 2/10 in that 4 a.m. to 10 a.m. time frame.
Which, yes, to the point that is a travel time. People are waking up,
sure,
not quite sure what's on the roads. So going out there, it's nice to have some sort of tool to inform people that there could be some issues out there. But I think the tool this time is a little too aggressive. We could have handled this a little differently with a special weather statement.
And to Rick's point, we have tools in the toolbox. I do work on my car on the side just as kind of a hobby. I've been working on cars since I was 16 years old. And one of the things I've learned over the course of working on cars, and I think anybody out there that works on them will understand exactly what I'm saying, there's a tool for the job. Some people use metric depending on whether their car is a Euro car or a JDM car. Some people, if they use American, are going to use Imperial, which would be 1/4 inch. I have socket sets for both. I have wrenches for both. I have Allen wrenches for both. I have for all of that because I need to grab the right tool in the toolbox. And Rick, you cook. I would assume that you probably have more things in the kitchen than you actually need. That I would say, why do you have all this? But you would say it's necessary to do it right. And so this is just simple. We have tools in the toolbox. We think that a special weather statement would have alerted people that there is concerns. We can get impacts, but we don't want you to think it's as severe as what a winter weather advisory is. We don't want you to think that the impacts are going to be the same as 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inches of snow. We worry on that maybe when that really does happen, that is a problem. So in kind of recap, could there be some light snow tonight in our area?
Yes, but very minimal. And that's the thing. When you step outside tomorrow, and if you saw no snow and you're under an advisory,
and you have kids,
you'd be like, "What morons!" Like,
and you have kids too. Like, I mean, you have Mia, and if Mia wants to play in the snow, Alicia hears winter weather advisory. She's gearing her up to get out in the snow. She's telling her we may have snow on the ground tomorrow. We've got one of those advisories, and then Mia looks out the window and sees grass.
That's why I don't let her ask Alexa. She gotta get the weather information from me.
But am I wrong?
You're right. I didn't tell her it's gonna snow tonight because I know tomorrow if she wakes up and doesn't see any, she'd be upset. Now why
didn't you tell her?
Because I don't believe it's gonna snow a lot, enough that she will perceive it, or even have to wear different shoes for that matter.
So look, I will tell you, some people may think, I think some people kind of think sometimes I will disagree just for the sake of disagreeing. Let me state one more time in clear words, the Weather Service made the right call last night. You're like, Mark, those roads turned to ice on the East End Bridge. Grant Line Road was terrible. We had issues on 71. Why wasn't a winter weather advisory issued? It wasn't issued because it doesn't meet the criteria normally for a winter weather advisory. You're like, well, Mark, the Weather Service said that if it's impactful, they should issue it. This is where it gets quite challenging.
Right.
If impact is the only thing, then every single time that happens, they have to issue one. It gets really gray. I think that our goal is to make sure that you understand. When I say there's a winter weather advisory, you know there's going to be snow on the ground and you have a concern. When I say winter storm warning, you know you may not be able to travel.
Okay.
When I say severe thunderstorm warning, you know that if I'm concerned that you may have trees down. You know that if I say there's a tornado warning and I'm very concerned there's a tornado on the ground, you know that in any moment a tornado could hit you and you're going to take action. If I just start telling you tornado warning and indiscriminately just put these on everything and you keep taking action and nothing happens, eventually you're not going to take action anymore. And all I'm saying is I want you to know that when we elevate the wording, when we tell you it's something to worry about, that legitimately you will need to.
Yeah, and we mean it. That's the one thing.
So from here, what we want to do, number one, if you guys appreciate the Facebook Lives, and this was a little bit of a different one than what we normally do. We got into some deeper topics on this one, and it is a podcast space, so we kind of like the opportunity to do that. At some point, could we bring multiple meteorologists in from different weather service offices? I think it would be nice. I don't know if we could get them all, but it would be nice to just hear different takes on this because it's obvious Paducah is not thinking the same.
Right.
Indianapolis has a different opinion. Cincinnati has a different opinion. Jackson has a different opinion than Louisville. And there's 4 offices we just mentioned that have a different opinion on how to deal with this than the way that Louisville dealt with it. You could even very successfully argue Indy is going to get more snow than Louisville. This is not even a maybe.
It does show closer to ½ inches, in their area. And
which arguably is 5 times what Louisville gets.
Yeah. And also their criteria is different, which is another, they have the 2. That's their floor.
So from here, we want to open it up to questions. And we will allow you to ask questions about anything here because we've kind of talked about the snow tonight, snow tomorrow. We've talked about advisories, what it means. You can even give us your opinion, and I'm going to put those on the screen, and you can tell us what you think. I mean, I'm going to just lay this out there. Do you think that a winter weather advisory should have a bottom? Do you think 1/10 of an inch should be in the same advisory that 4 inches of snow are in? So I'm going to put this to you, Rick. Cynthia Baker is saying in the morning, this is when the advisory is issued, how much snow for Adair County?
Adair County?
Yes.
Okay. Nothing. Adair County is so far south. If it was going to be in terms of snow accumulations and dusting here or there, our northern counties. Our northern counties are the ones to watch. If you are south of I-64, you will not see anything. Just to be completely transparent, clear, and honest about that one. Adair County, don't worry about it at all.
So Beverly just joined us in here from Campbellsville, next to Lebanon, Kentucky. How much snow should you expect in the morning? Nothing. What could we get in the afternoon and evening? It is possible that we could get a minor amount. I would say even if the worst case scenario would be up to an inch. Up to is 0 to 1 inch of snow, but it does look like lower amounts. And I think afternoon and evening would be something that we would watch a little bit more closely.
Jim just said the floor should be a ½ inch. And I kind of like, if you want to lower it a little bit, that would be fine by me because around here, it's tough to drive when it's raining sometimes. So I agree. If we're going to lower it, let's just lower it, but at least have something at the bottom because if you say 0 to 4, you can't be wrong. It seems kind of clever, but also to me, it's very manipulative, and I don't think that's going to work out well in the long run.
Christine is asking, wants to know, her son wants to know, is there going to be school tomorrow? So these are tough ones to answer. The problem is your school superintendent may decide that it's not safe to drive on the roads. I can't tell you what they're going to decide. And I understand the question because I think it's completely fair. But it's hard for us to predict the weather. It's impossible for us to predict what somebody else might decide. What I can tell you is this is not a high-end event. Lisa's saying, I appreciate the discussion and I don't watch anything other than WDRB weather. We appreciate that. Scottsburg, David is asking that. Rick, towards you, Scottsburg.
Scottsburg.
Excuse me, Sellersburg.
Sellersburg. Okay, so a little further south. Sellersburg, you could see a quick coating. And it's not going to be just on elevated surfaces. This would include the road, the car, the sidewalk. But I would say maybe about 1/10 of an inch max to anything between that and a dusting. So minimal amounts, but again, it's going to be a different type of snow. This is going to be really fine,
Yes.
powdery and light kind of
Yes.
snow. This is almost the perfect snow blower or leaf blower.
Sure.
Just brush it off your car in your driveway kind of scenario.
And it is worth noting that this doesn't normally generate black ice that freezes on contact. This normally actually gives your tires an ability to stick on something. I mean, if you have driven in snow a lot, you know that if your tires actually have something to get traction to is better than it being completely loose. So let me go back, see any other questions here. We did have a YouTuber. I want to get to that. Cassie is asking, what do I think the roads will be bad on Saturday? Bad is a relative term, but do I think you're going to have a lot of snow in Eatown on Saturday? My answer is no. Rick, I did see a longer question there. I didn't know if you had a chance to read that one.
I did read through that one. It was more so this was from Deborah Hoffer, and she says, here's the point. We left for our choir rehearsal at 6:45 p.m. last night.
Okay.
We drove from Henryville to St. Matthews and arrived at 7:25. Yet when we started home at 9:10, many of the roads were ice. We made it home after moving past several wrecks. We would not have left home if we thought it was going to be so bad. Was this a surprise?
It's a fair question. So if you remember, we talked about snow squalls yesterday. We knew they would happen. We were very transparent and clear that this can cause slick roadways. The problem with what occurred last night is the snow fell, it melted on the ground. And then what happened is, as the temperatures crashed, it froze. Did we know that was possible last night? Absolutely. But we also knew that it was very isolated. And it falls in between the difficulty sometimes if we issue an advisory. I'm just going to use Louisville. We issue the advisory for Louisville. Now, only the northeast side of Louisville verifies that advisory. If you're on the western side, southwest side, southern side, absolutely nothing. So these are somewhat, I would say, very challenging things to word, to verbiage, to get the message fully out there. We say these slick areas or hazardous road conditions can occur in localized areas, but it's sometimes hard to say exactly where those localized areas will be, because they can be a quarter county wide.
Well, I mean, also think of that on the spectrum of, we do severe thunderstorm warnings. We can't tell you where the damage is going to be, but there's an area where we can at least highlight. But that's the thing. It's a very different animal, and we can't tell you what's going to get damaged in a storm. And just like that, these snow squalls set up, and they're very localized, meaning maybe 1 or 2 miles. I know when I was driving on 64, it didn't get bad until I got to around Grinstead and Elwood. And then I was bad until I got off the 9th Street ramp, which means there was about a mile or two where it was treacherous. You couldn't see. The roads were snow covered. People had their flashers on. There were cars which were flipped and turned the wrong way into oncoming traffic. It was not a fun drive, and this was around 8:30 or so. Then we saw that snow melt, and then we saw a lot of that refreeze. But the traffic wrecks last night, I've never seen that map look like that. I think in the time I've been here, which is over 13 years now.
And there wasn't a lot.
And that's the thing. But you could tell where the snow squalls were by the red on the traffic map. There was one right there around northeast Louisville, and then another one that came right across, the Butchertown area near Lynn Family Stadium. I mean, it lined up perfectly where the traffic messes were and the snow squalls.
Answer another question here. This one from Daniel. He's saying 1/10 of an inch for advisory criteria works for areas like Atlanta. For us in Louisville, I think our snow advisory parameters should equate to those in Cincy. So Cincy's, from what we look at, looks like it's around 3-ish on the floor. Do I think 3 is too high of a floor for Louisville? I do. I think an inch of snow in Louisville was the right number. I think it was. An inch of snow is going to cause a lot of problems in this city. So I would say that I think an inch of snow was the right criteria that we should have on the bottom of that. Let's see. Cassie is asking, out of French Lick and Paoli, overnight into tomorrow morning, Cassie and French Lick, Paoli, I'm going to say you're probably going to end up with around 1/4 of an inch. That could cause slick roadways. That's certainly way different than 4 inches of snow. If it's me, I put a special weather statement out there. I note that some slick spots are going to occur. Use some caution in the morning, but I protect the advisory for you. Rick, Charlestown, Indiana. This one, someone asking, at 10 a.m., I'm going to be traveling. What should I expect?
At 10 a.m., there's nothing falling from the sky. It'll be quiet at that point in time. Could there be a thin little coating of snow on the roads and on the ground and on your car? Yes. But I would say about 1/10 of an inch max. So a dusting to 1/10 of an inch Well, like I said before, this is a good time to break out the leaf blower and just brush it away. But the roads tomorrow should actually improve a little bit during the afternoon.
And I'm going to ask you a straight up question too. You were out on the roads last night.
Yep.
What we would see tonight, worst case scenario, is it as slick as the roads last
Oh my,
night?
not even not even the same league. Not even close.
Okay, well, how come?
The intensity of those snow bursts, that covered up everything, and with a pretty good coating of snow. This is really thin and powdery, and it's light. And to me, my tires at least can grip this snow a little bit better. Last night, between the low visibilities, I mean, that was enough to cause panic, on top of the fact that we had snow-covered roads. So we're not talking about low visibilities, which a lot of people don't even think about. You know, they underestimate that kind of stuff. So,
okay, another question here coming in from Sundown on YouTube, Oldham County. Oldham County, I think that worst case scenario is about 1/10 of an inch. Oldham County is notorious for getting issues on the roads. Oldham County has some hilly terrain, as is Trimble County. Some of those areas like Goshen, where you're going around the corners, you definitely can get some travel problems with that. And I would use some caution. I'm not saying that we don't think snow is going to fall. I'm not saying that it can't cause impacts. I'm saying that it's not the same impacts as what an inch of snow would cause. Rick, I'm going to throw this to you. Caddy's saying, I just joined. Can you recap the morning commute for Jefferson County around school time?
so was that Katie?
This was
Katie Miller.
Okay.
So Jefferson County, you may see a dusting of snow. May see a dusting of snow, you know, as the kids are getting up and getting ready to go to school. Would it be anything more than that? No. But since we have temperatures in the 20s, those flakes that fall will be sticking. And it's not going to be coating for everyone, but I think there's going to be sporadic areas that have fresh little dusting of snow and a fresh coating that shouldn't cause anything major. But I would just urge you to use caution. I don't make the decisions on school closings and any of that, but I know a lot of you have now seen winter weather advisory. You see Louisville's included. You're expecting some snow, but I have to tell you, your expectations are probably over what will actually occur, because I do think this is just a little aggressive for a winter weather advisory. You're going to see some snow tonight. You may have to brush off the car tomorrow, but you're not going to be snowed in. You're not going to be driving across roads that are, just covered with snow, a lot like we had roads last night.
Travel impacts occur when it rains here. Travel
Fair.
impacts occur when it when we get tiny hail.
Yeah.
Rick, if we get tiny hail, I'll be honest with you, it gets my attention when I hear it hitting the windshield. That is now having an impact on me because that's distracting me. Does that mean now that we need to issue some type of an advisory for when that tiny hail's coming, because it's going to distract me? Or Rick, I've got another one for you.
We do, though. Special weather statements.
Oh, what about, Rick, an advisory for during the summertime? You know, those downpours, you get underneath that storm. It sometimes feels like you can't see 2 feet in front of you. We have an advisory for that, right?
No.
We use the special weather statement, don't we?
Yeah.
Oh. All right, guys. So in recap, we'll do 3 more questions here. We're showing you the advisory on the left part of the screen. It does include Louisville. It does include Shelbyville. It does include Eminence and Newcastle. It includes LaGrange. It includes you in Goshen. It includes you in Bedford, Kentucky. It doesn't include you in Carrollton. It includes you in Madison. It includes you in Clarksville and Jeff. It includes you in Scottsburg, in Salem, in Borden. It does include you in the Corydon area. Includes you in Crawford County near English. It includes you in French Lick, and it includes you in Paoli. Last 3 questions here before we have to go back to get ready to go on TV here.
All right, you want to start?
Yes, but I want to answer this one question. Somebody asked if I'm going to be watching IU playing on Monday. I'm going to make a forecast for that real quickly, and I'm going to say there's a 100% chance I'll be watching. It's funny, when your team, I've been helping the University of Louisville as a meteorologist for over a decade. It's something I really, really enjoy. I've got to know some really great people and some amazing fans. I've helped in events all around our region. But once your team is not playing or they're out, you always have the team that you're rooting for. I will root for Louisville because I helped them. But if Louisville's not playing, I'm always going to root for IU and UK. Not everybody has the same compassion for the other fan base as I do. And I hope IU wins that game. I do think that I think they're going to win that game. Rick, 3 questions here.
Okay. The first one that came out was Lori Coy saying,
Okay.
so Bullitt County in the good. I'd say yes. You have nothing to worry about.
But
There's
Rick,
one.
that's only one county away from Louisville.
I
Is there an
know.
effective difference? I'm going to just ask this to you. If you're in Fern Creek versus Mount Washington, that takes you about 5 minutes to drive. Is there a difference?
No.
Well, then why would one be under advisory and one not?
It's a good question.
2 more questions here. Let's see. Somebody's asking about the end of January. I love this question, and I want to answer this one. So the end of January. Our pattern right now is moisture starved, which means you're not going to get a big snow. The weather pattern shifts in the middle of next week. It's not going to be as cold, but it also does allow Gulf of America, Gulf of Mexico, Gulf, whatever you refer to it as. We try to just say Gulf so it encompasses everybody. Please don't get mad at me one way or the other. But the Gulf moisture is now in play. So this means that can surge northward. You can get things like freezing rain. You can get all rain. You can get snow. But what happens is the weather pattern becomes more interesting, and you normally are going to see bigger storms. That doesn't mean big snow, but it means that it opens up that possibility. Rick, the last question of the night is going to be yours.
All right.
Choose wisely, my friend.
Bring them in, people. Let's see.
Okay, he's thinking. We did get a share from somebody. Thank you.
Thank you for
Melissa.
the share. And thanks to everyone who's in here right now, who's joined us for this conversation, taking part in
And
it,
it has
asking
been
questions.
a conversation, really. I
Yeah.
hope you. I think that when you look at what our podcast, our lives are, Rick, this is very different than what we do in the TV space. We have room for discussion, for conversations, and you say this a lot. But a conversation is not between Rick DeLuca and Mark Weinberg. This involved more.
Right. And it's fun too because like we'll say, hey, this is the topic today, but we do not get into any detail as to what we're going to really talk about, how we're going to go about it.
Mm-hmm.
You just kind of say, all right, this is the theme, and then we just kind of go from there, which
Yeah,
makes
it's
it
not rundown-ish.
No, it's very loose form, and I do think by not having so many constraints, we're able to touch on other topics, talk a lot more about us, our lives, get into your lives a little bit, and just kind of geek out over weather, which is what we love to do most.
And even answer the questions, because in the end of all of what we do, Rick and I have learned very, very quickly that if I say Louisville, you don't care about Louisville. You care about where your house is located, what your kids are going to be dealing with, what your husband or your wife is going to be driving through. And the lives give us a very unique ability to hear your questions and to answer them individually. Mr. DeLuca, the last question, you got to take it. You got to decide,
All right,
man.
so I got this is from Rose Tyndall.
Okay.
She wants to know about cordon.
Okay, good.
So let's see, cordon.
Thinking he's really
I'd say a
thinking.
dusting to
Good.
1/10 of an inch. And once again, temperatures are in the 20s, and that means it's going to be a powdery snow. It's going to be very light, but it will stick. You could see some slick spots, but this is not going to be a shovelable, certainly not a plowable snow by any means. It should be easy to just brush away. If you don't have the leaf blower, you can always use the broom. A few slick spots possible,
Okay.
but once again, this is not going to be a shutdown situation
Okay.
where you are unable to travel. If you don't like driving in the snow, if your car isn't really fit for it, then you'll have some issues. But if you have all-wheel drive, good tires, and you go slow, this is all manageable.
So we appreciate you here on tonight's Facebook Live. Remember, if you share the video at the end, your friends, your family can come right in and go slide the timeline to whatever part they want to watch. I assume they want to see snow totals. It's in here, and we showed you them all. We don't always show all of them, but in this, we wanted to show you how thorough and consistent the data is. He is Rick DeLuca. If you don't follow him on Facebook, when I'm not here, Rick's a great follow. He will go live. Everything we've talked about accumulation, remember, is tomorrow between 4 a.m. and 10 a.m. This does not include what occurs tomorrow afternoon. I'm going to look at the late data. I will be on 10 o'clock, so my times that I'm on TV is 10, 10:22, 10:37. Mr. DeLuca is on right around 11, and his big weather hits around 11:17. We're going to be discussing overnight winter weather advisory, updating data. We're going to be talking about snow during the afternoon tomorrow, how much that could accumulate to, and we're going to be talking about some cold that you will not appreciate unless your middle name's Polar Bear because it's going to get really cold in our area. So I'll be on at 10. He'll be on at 11. We appreciate you guys taking part in what has been a unique Facebook Live. You can always comment out at the end and let us know you guys appreciated or hated the topic tonight. I'll see you guys on WD.